associate for today. We represent progressive religious thought and good trouble here in the South Bay. This is a place where we can join together having different beliefs, races, lifestyles, sexual orientation, and gender identities. Everyone is welcome here. If you're visiting for the first time, we're especially happy. And we also want you to know that we have religious education, spiritual education for school-age kids, and that happens right after the moment for all ages for the kids here. As always, we'll have a really, really lovely lunch going on the piano. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. It won't be the first goof from this morning, actually. Okay, a lovely lunch on the piano if you could fit on there. And it's $5 unless it's your first time, it's free. And no one will ever be turned away for lack of funds. We always like to mention that this land, Palos Verdes, and also most of Los Angeles, are the ancestral lands of the Tongva, Quiche, and Gabrielino tribes. We honor them and we appreciate them, and most of all, we always want to remember them. A couple of announcements. September 13th is going to be the water communion service. Have you been to a lake, a beach, a river, a friend's swimming pool this summer? Everyone is invited to bring some water, actual or symbolic, from summer adventures to the communal bowl here at the service. That's September 13th. We have plenty of these clear glass vials that have a little lid on them, and you can get them from our ushers, right? Ushers? Huh? Okay, ushers. Okay. That would be Jack and Greg. And also Gabby has them in the office. And yeah, so, you know, maybe it's from the Ganges in India, or maybe it's from, you know, a little pond in Lomita or something. It's whatever is symbolic for you. That's September 13th. September 19th is the silent auction. That's a big deal. That's our biggest fundraiser, isn't it, probably? It's our biggest fundraiser. And I cannot be silent about the silent auction. It's really, really fun. It's a great fundraiser for us, but it is really fun. There's food, there's music, there's beer and wine. There's so many people donate dinners and lunches and activities and sports and poetry readings and beautiful homes with pianos and artwork from the Pattersons. So many different things. And let me just say that when I first came here in 2012 and I didn't know anybody, the auction happened shortly after that, and I signed up for a bunch of things. And what a wonderful way that was to get to meet. I have so many interesting stories about meeting those people for the first time. So it's a great way to get to know other people. Okay, that's enough of that. Camp de Benneville's volunteer work weekend is August 28th to the 30th, so next weekend. If you like being part of the volunteer weekend, it's up in the mountains. It starts on Friday the 28th at 1 p.m. and goes through Sunday. They have delicious meals and overnight stay accommodations, and you'll do all kinds of, I guess, painting and all kinds of things up in the mountains. So that's a fun thing. They have accommodations for 25 people, and usually that many people sign up. So duly noted. And lastly, the choir rehearsal starts this coming Wednesday. Yeah, we'll start back up. Severin is back or about to get back. I don't really know, but this Wednesday night, we'll start up. That's at 6 o'clock. Wednesday night, if you feel like singing. Okay, and now the time for the chalice lighting. going? So the chalice lighting is called Take from Life Its Coals. That's COALS. Take from life its coals. Take from life its coals, not its ashes. Fan the flames of love and justice. Join hands and hearts in common endeavor, and there will be no limit to what we can achieve together. And now it's time for, yes, and Reverend Reverend Samuel Pullen is our guest speaker today. We're so happy to have you. And he and Pastor Joshua met at Clue, which I think you've heard quite a lot about if you haven't even actually attended it yourself. Clergy and laity united in economic justice, right?
You got it. Great.
Which really should be klujage. Yeah. Okay, and well, I'll let you say more.
Good morning to you all. We'll have an opportunity for me to introduce a little bit more about myself, but I wanted to introduce the first hymn because it's not what's in your bulletin, but it is what's on the screen. And that dissonance is due to my requesting one of my favorite hymns to be part of the service, and the timing was off. But I understand you guys know Blue Boat Home. Is that right? Woo! So I don't know if you know this, but there's a children's book of Blue Boat Home. And the reason I love that hymn so much is that when I was a teenager in Des Moines, Iowa, Peter Mayer, who's an amazing guitar artist, would come occasionally to play at the coffee shop in Des Moines, Iowa, Java Joe's. And I was so fascinated with his music and his message that I worked up the courage to ask him to come be the keynote speaker at our environmental conference in Iowa when I was in high school. And he said yes. And then he asked what the honorarium was. And I said, "We've got $100 for you." And he was like, "Does that include gas or hotel room or anything?" I was like, "I think that's all we have in our budget." And he generously came down to this group of high school students and was our keynote speaker for Less Than Deserved. So I always share how much he inspires me. But we can kick off the day with Blue Boat Home.
Please rise for our surprise hymn.
Number 1064 in the blue book if you don't have it.
And now our pianist has also been surprised, so we're going to do this pretty much archipelago. Yeah, but I trust both him and you guys. So here we go. Get on your boat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the
sounded pretty doggone professional. And everybody, yay! I actually was walking. I've been doing a lot of walking prescribed by PT, and it's been so hot and sunny that I've been walking inside malls and Targets and furniture stores to get on my 2 times a day, 20 minutes walking. So I'm in, I think it's a furniture store or something, and they had music on, so it was real faint. And I thought, what I hear? And I thought, what the hell is that? But you never know where Blue Book. So now it's time for the moment for all ages. So please, Dr. Haven Perez will come up and share a story with the kids.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, my students for today. Good morning. Welcome. I have some big concepts we're going to be covering today. What's fairness to you? When something is fair? Go for it.
Something is fair when.
You got it. Go for it. All right, anybody else? Go for it.
Fairness is when you're like it's. I think it's when you're being fair.
All right. So another way we can say fairness is justice, right? And then there's another term. You hear this a lot at UU churches and other communities, social justice. Social justice, so justice is something for us individually, just you as a person. Social justice, it's when it's all of us. And it affects, say that again? Okay, he brought up the Justice League. Yes. So it's something we all are involved with. Oh. So another aspect of social justice is generosity and time. And time is a form of generosity. So today we're going to be talking about how we can use generosity to inform or to help our social justice. All right, meet Meddy Bear. Meddy Bear is a kid just like you. Meddy Bear lives in a forest town with all their families and friends. They love it here. Sometimes people get hurt or sick in Forest Town. When that happens, they have to go to the Forest Town Hospital. Meddy Bear has had to go to the hospital before, so they know it can kind of be scary at first. Meddy Bear had to go to the hospital when they fell off their bike. The hospital was so bright and loud and busy. It felt like Meddy Bear had to wait forever in the waiting room, and they just wanted to go home. But then Meddy Bear met Nurse Owl. Nurse Owl was so friendly to Meddy Bear, Nurse Owl knew just how to help Meddy Bear. Nurse Owl was so nice and funny, too. Even Meddy Bear parents seemed to relax. Nurse Owl worked with Dr. Squirrel, and they made sure Meddy Bear was all better. It wasn't long before Meddy Bear got to go home. Thanks to Nurse Owl, Meddy Bear realized the hospital doesn't have to be scary. It's just where we go when we need help from people like Nurse Owl. Since then, Meddy Bear has had to go to the hospital again. Each time, it's easy to think about how scary it can be. But then Meddy Bear remembers friendly Nurse Owl, and it's not so scary anymore. One day at the hospital, when Meddy Bear needed some help feeling better, they saw Nurse Owl. She was upset. The hospital was trying to shut down her unit, where they provide special care for special little bears and their friends. The boss was a real shark, and when Mr. Great White smiled, you could see all his teeth. He told the Forest Town News that little woodland critters didn't need special care anymore. Nurse Owl said that she and her friends knew Meddy Bear and all woodland critters still needed care and were going to make sure they got it. The nurses organized themselves to fight back together. Nurse Owl and her friends stood out in front of the hospital with signs to let all the woodland critters know what was going on. And it worked. The hospital shark was so embarrassed that he decided not to shut down the little critter care unit. But it turned out Mr. Great White wasn't only part of the problem. He worked for an even bigger shark who wanted to shut down every hospital. Mr. Hammerhead lived far away from Forest Town, but he could not decide whether or not their hospital stayed open. Meddybear decided that wasn't fair, but didn't know what to do. Then they remembered that the nurses always know what to do. Nurse Owl and her friends already had an idea. They had met a magic bus, and this magic bus could take them all the way to Mr. Hammerhead to tell him to stop. On the magic bus ride, Meddybear and the nurses made their plan. They were going to protest outside Mr. Hammerhead's office, chanting and shouting until they were heard. When they finally got there, they weren't alone. Critters from all over showed up to tell Mr. Hammerhead to leave our hospitals alone. Everyone deserves health care. When they saw the protest with Meddybear, the nurses and all their friends, Mr. Hammerhead and the rest of the sharks, got really scared. They all dove back into the ocean and were never seen again. Forest Town Hospital was saved thanks to Meddybear, Nurse Owl, and all the generosity of their friends. And now Meddybear can always go there to get their special care.
So let's sing out the children, shall we? Here we go. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return. And now is our time to light some candles of joy and sorrow. If you want to do that, you can come home and line up right over here, and Leanne's going to help me with the candles. If you want to share a joy, we celebrate that joy with you, and if you want to share a sorrow, we support you with our heartfelt support. Okay. Oops.
So it's very appropriate as we've just lifted up those prayers and joys and concerns. I want to just expand on that with a moment of meditation and expanded prayer. So we begin aware of those needs that we have in our lives that need tending, that need care, that need healing, that need support. So you begin focusing on yourself. And now we expand that consciousness. Imagine that you could see this whole congregation from above and hold everyone in it with love and care, praying that their needs may be met for healing, for belonging, for purpose. Then let us continue the bird's eye view until we can overlook this entire basin, this entire Southern California, millions of people. Let us expand our generous spirits to encompass all of them and know that we can hold in prayer all of those who have tremendous needs for food, for clothing, for housing, for belonging, for purpose. Now continue the zoom and the expansion until we can imagine that we're encompassing the whole world. The needs become greater, but so also do the resources. And we can hold in our hearts compassion for the whole world. And then we zoom even further out to where we can see our earth, our blue boat home as if from space. And suddenly, individual needs seem less significant. But we can be aware of the need to care for this planet. And as we continue expanding and expanding this spirit of love and generosity and hope, we can offer the prayer of a meditation taught by the Buddha. May all beings have peace. May all beings be happy. May all beings be liberated. Liberated. Liberated.
It's a lovely meditation. Thank you. And now you could remain seated and we would sing our next. Is that on that? Yes. When our heart is in a holy place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside
Now is a good a time, isn't it, to thank Brandon Pineda and Shayna Hammer for our lovely music. We appreciate you. So Reverend Pullen has given me the opportunity of doing a reading here before he speaks. This is from the Gospel according to Luke. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be the judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich towards God." So I'd like to just say a little bit more about Reverend Sam Pullen. He comes to serve at the intersection of soulful music, contemplative spirituality, and social justice. 25 years of experience in union, nonprofit, interfaith, and congregational settings, to his current role as a faith-rooted organizer with Clue, who I mentioned before. And he's an ordained minister of the United Church of Christ. So please, Reverend Pullen.
Thank you so much. And thank you to Reverend Josh Berg for inviting me. I was very fortunate to meet Reverend Josh actually out on a picket line supporting nurses. Do you believe that? I think it was West Hollywood. Kaiser was going through labor struggles, and I remember meeting him and talking with him afterwards. Then saw him a couple months later at another protest that I was very inspired, and we were chatting afterwards. This one was at Universal Studios, I think, and he gave a rousing message of support and empowerment for the workers there, and I could just feel his strong presence. It was amazing. And so we chatted, and he said, "Hey, would you ever be open to preaching for me?" Because I told him that I live in Lawndale, but I was serving in Woodland Hills, and he lives in the valley and is serving down here. So I was like, if we ever need to swap, or like if you need to call a substitute, I'm just down the street. So we picked this date, and it's worked out great because now I've transitioned into full-time work with Clue, and that's not what the message for today is about, though. Um, I wanted to share that as a pastor ordained in the United Church of Christ, we often sort of comment when people are asking what the congregations are like. We say the UCC kind of stands for Unitarians Considering Christ. Have you ever heard that? Right? So it's kind of a joke in the UCC, but I want you to know that I think that intention is conveying a deep respect for Unitarian Universalism, because that's a lot of the values that speak to folks in the UCC. They're just kind of open to learning what they can from Jesus, and but they're not like diehard Bible thumpers, and certainly don't believe that there's an exclusive path to salvation only through Jesus. So that's something that has spoken to me since I was a youth, since I was in a program like this. And I remember in Des Moines, Iowa, where I grew up, attending a Lutheran church and going through confirmation. And during confirmation, one of our assignments was to explore other religious traditions and to go visit. They didn't want to just force feed, Lutheran beliefs upon you. We had to try and make a conscious decision. So I opted to go visit the Unitarian church down the road, and it had a beautiful window open to the nature behind it, just like this, which I think is a UU value. It must be. And I really love that because I love nature. And, I explored learning and got to see a couple of services there, and I loved it. And then I came back and went through with my confirmation in the Lutheran church and hardly ever stepped a foot back in after that. Isn't that ironic? That's why they have a joke. If you want to get rid of somebody in church, confirm them. Um, and my path after that was really exploring a lot of various traditions, like particularly in college, exploring Buddhism, and that's where that practice of may all beings have peace is one of the core Buddhist meditations. Um, and it was more into my 20s that I had more of kind of a spiritual awakening where I was really stressed out as a union organizer trying to change the world and win every battle and losing a lot of them and just constantly in this grind, and I needed something to ground me and to sustain me. And I turned to spirituality. I turned to various 12-step groups, learning how to kind of heal from the wounds that I had grown up with and have some sort of a rootedness. And during that process, I became a little bit more open again to my Christian tradition because I had kind of rejected it and judged it. And when I came back and went to seminary in the United Church of Christ, that was a tradition that allows for an expansive understanding of what our calling is, an expansive understanding of what our faith is. And um, that's part of what's led me into my role now, working with CLUE and Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. But that's not what I'm here to preach about today. I'm here to share about a message related to the UU value of generosity, because I truly still consider myself a UCC considering Unitarianism, because I love the message that I see here, and I've never heard a congregation sing that hymn with such love and ownership. Like, I've introduced that hymn in Christian churches, and they're kind of like, oh, well, we know the tune because it's a tune of very common, many hymns. But to sing it as if you own it, I just feel like Peter Mayer would be so proud and impressed to see that. Um, all that being said about how open, and when I preach in a Christian tradition, I often bring in elements from other faith traditions when I'm preaching. But since I'm here today, is it okay if I bring in that teaching from Jesus to share with you all? Because you probably don't hear it all the time. Um, I think that this message from today is something that is really good for talking about generosity, right? Because here you have somebody coming to Jesus who sees him as, who knows, maybe a teacher, maybe a kind of a cool prophetic guy, a popular teacher, maybe someone who could help settle a dispute, a family dispute, right? So he comes to Jesus and says, uh, can you help make sure that our family inheritance gets divided equally with me? Like, there's some greedy people in my family, and I want to make sure I get my share. Can you help out, Jesus? And unfortunately, he gets a surprising response. Effectively, what Jesus is saying is, stop focusing on yourself. What is the solution here? We have to turn the me into a we. And how many of you know a family that's been torn apart over an inheritance issue? Anyone? Right? It's real. It's something that you can understand why you would come to a spiritual teacher and ask this question. How many of you know a family that's come closer over an inheritance issue? Okay, a few. That's good. It's not guaranteed that that will be an issue that divides people. Sometimes it can bring people together. When you turn the me into a we, when you think of a legacy as something that we get to carry on. And so the teaching is about what steps can we take in this life to ensure that our wealth contributes to a greater purpose whenever we pass on. That's really the challenge of generosity, right? One of my favorite teachers and theologians in the Christian tradition is Ched Myers. I don't know if any of you've ever heard of Ched Myers. He's actually a Southern California kind of a movement theologian. He never really, um, he's not a professor, but he's produced these incredibly detailed analysis of different books. And his most recent is an analysis of the Gospel of Luke, and he calls it the divine commonwealth is the central message that Luke is talking about. And what I love about this parable is that it talks about a land of a rich man that produced abundantly, right? Now, here's the first lesson. How did this man get rich? It says that the land produced abundantly. Was it because of this man's ingenuity, hard work, that his wealth is attributed? Perhaps that played a part in it, but it says in the parable, the land produced abundantly. And more than likely, it was not his hard work. I imagine he had some laborers to make that happen. And ultimately, it was just a blessing. It was a divine blessing that that land produced, right? Here in Southern California, and when you expand it to all of California, we have an abundant land, don't we? It produces a lot of the produce and agriculture for much of the country and the world, crops of all kinds of varieties. We have a land that has produced abundantly. But are we the ones that cultivate it and harvest it? Not necessarily. It takes a collective effort to harvest that abundance. And yet, the man in this story is clearly thinking pretty selfishly. And this is where you can look back on the words of it. It's pretty fun to see. He's sitting there asking himself, what shall I do? I have nowhere to store my crops. I shall do this. I will put down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all of my grain and my goods, feeling rather contented. This is the funniest part. He just starts talking to his soul. Soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. I get the feeling he was already a couple drinks in at that point, you know? But the solution is not to focus on the me. It's to focus on the we. And this is something I think is helpful for all of us living in Southern California. I know that at times we can feel like sometimes we, even though we're in this land of abundance, we're struggling to get by. We're maybe materially feeling poor in the moment. And often it's true. Like, just to survive in this expensive real estate is a challenge, and we can get into the mindset of feeling like we're poor, we can't make it happen. But that's where we need to shift into, instead of a I and me mentality, let's shift into a you and we mentality, because collectively we are very wealthy, we are very blessed, we are very rich. And that is also true, especially when we look in an organization like this congregation. Collectively, this community produces abundance that sustains the campus, that makes a difference in the community, that can transform and even address issues of greater poverty in the world. So here's where I have a little exercise for us. I didn't share about this, but I'm curious. We have like an usher or like an offering basket here? Is there a basket? Somebody could bring that up for me here. I was thinking about how is it that we can practice generosity, right? And if you'll notice in the sermon, I guess it doesn't actually say the title, but the title that I provided for this sermon was "How to Get Rich Spiritually," right? But I brought with me $101 bills that I want to contribute to the offering, and we get to do what's called a reverse offering, which means we're going to pass the plate, and you will each take $1. Okay. The purpose of this is for you to take that gift and reflect on what you might do with it to practice generosity. There's no expectation that you give this gift back to the church, by the way. I didn't promise Reverend Joshua that we would do that, but this is when I preach. I often give a gift, a tithe to the church that's invited me, and I bring today this generous gift. And my intention was to share with every person $1 that you can reflect on. If you have a kid here, take 2. If you forgot food for the lunch and you're going to go leave hungry, take 5, right? And then with whatever's left, I was going to donate it to a cause, but I wasn't counting on so many people being here. So I think, anyway, I want your help. Let's pass this around. And I'm serious. Hold on to your $1 until it comes time for offering or take it home. Think of how you want to share and practice generosity. You can do it with strings attached, or you can try giving it away with no expectation, but we'll pass it around. Could you help? So this is a thing. I think when we reflect on generosity, it's something that requires thinking about what our influences have been in our lives. It requires thinking about what it is that makes us happy, right? How many of you know somebody who is very rich materially in this world? Okay. How many of you know somebody who's very poor? Okay, that's good. We have a diverse collection of people. Which of those 2 people that you thought of as happier? It's hard to say. There's no guarantee. Sometimes somebody who's very rich is very happy and fulfilled. Sometimes they're not, right? Sometimes those who are very poor materially are actually more content than the person who has it all, who has multiple houses, properties, and a yacht and everything. There's no guarantee that your material condition will translate into your well-being, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual well-being. There's no guarantee. And I think that's something that's worth reflecting on. Think about how you first learned about generosity. Maybe it began like, I remember as a kid, I first got an allowance and I was given $1 a day each week. And then at the end of the week, I could only collect it on Sundays. But on Sunday, I had $7. And I remember initially, I would go and spend it all, right? Eventually, I saw things that I wanted that cost more than $7. And my parents taught me this lesson. If you want something that's more expensive, what do you have to do? You have to save it up, right? And that was so hard to do, to not take and buy something immediate, but to learn how to save up. And I practiced that over time. But usually the lesson was save up more so that I can buy something that I really want. I remember one summer I saved up all summer so that I could buy the 10-speed bike that I want. And I had to supplement it with mowing lawns, doing a lemonade stand. Like I had to work for it, right? But that still creates the impression that I've worked for somehow every dollar that I'm receiving. And yet, if we don't learn about giving and generosity, that mentality of hard work and accumulation can lead to a sickness. Have you guys heard of the sickness that's afflicting many people? It's called affluenza, right? This is actually in the title of Ched Meyer's book. He talks about affluenza as the illness for which the good news of the gospel is the remedy. Imagine that. To think that the teachings of this particular gospel of Luke were to help remedy this sickness that was afflicting people back in the day, which still we could say is a global pandemic today, because there are certain folks that are very affluent and there are a multitude who are very poor. So what's the solution? What's one thing that you can do each day? Think of that $1 a day allowance. What if you were to think about what can you do with that $1 a day allowance that will help cultivate generosity? Think about then what we can do collectively if we're in that mentality and we're also contributing to a collective fund like the church or like a mission fund, or if you are blessed with having resources overflowing, what do you want to devote that to make a difference in the world? That is what I believe is truly Sabbath economics. It is the opposite of wealth being concentrated into the hands of the few. It's actually wealth being distributed to meet the needs of the many. And I would say that that's biblical. I would say that that's the kind of values that the UU is teaching about generosity. And thank you to the tradition for highlighting that as a core value, because that's what can make so much difference in this world where so many are struggling. What are some of the things that you all hope to create and build with the wealth of your collective wealth? Just a few ideas. Some of the projects you work on, some of the missions you do, anything? A split plate offering that helps lift up other causes. Fabulous. I love it. What else? Paying the staff. Amazing. Maybe even expanding them. Who knows? Yeah. What else? Saving open space in the community. Wonderful. What else? Fabulous. Making lunches, right? All of these things are possible once we enter into that we're thinking in terms of a we. What can we do when we come together to make a difference? And that is one of the most profound ways of experiencing liberation, is to we're all going through our own struggles, but when we can contribute in a way that will help lift up a community, it sort of taps into this joy, this spiritual value. And that's what's possible when you change the me into an us and a we. So what do you think? Are you ready to get rich together? Are you ready to grow spiritually together? Are you ready to practice those spiritual values with your spiritual dollar a day and take whatever small steps you're inspired to do to invest in a greater good, whatever it may be? There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment here. There's no strings attached to the gift that I've given. Let's put it to good use together. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Pullen. Thank you, Marlene, for jumping up and being the doler of dollars. So now it's the time for our offertory. We're always yeah, that's just when it comes. Whatever you feel, We are grateful for your continued gifts to PUC, and you can give online and use the QR code on your program if you'd like to do that too. Probably everybody here has had a few like good bosses in your lifetime, different work you've done. Maybe you had one or two bosses that were kind of like hard-nosed or whatever. So here's a story about building a new home and construction, building a new home. The construction crew digs up a lamp with a genie in it. He grants each worker one wish. The first asks to go to Las Vegas, and poof, he disappears. The next asks to go to the Bahamas, the next to Hawaii, the next to Paris, and on until the only one left at the job site is the supervisor. The genie asks what he'd like, and he says, I want them all back here Monday morning. Please give generously.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and so then we believe it. But I know the truth, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection. The lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look where we've come so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection. The lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us caught in their spell. We know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep? And have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailor? I think they're one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection. The lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da 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 dee dee dee. Da 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 dee da dee.
Beautiful. Please join me in the affirmation of gratitude. There we go. Be grateful when we are able to give. for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. So now I'm going to extinguish the. I couldn't light it, but I could put it out. It's time to. Oh. Will you all stand, and if you want to join hands, that would be nice if you feel it. This beloved community is dedicated to the proposition that within all our differences, in all of our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one, a bond that holds us together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We rise in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Ashe, shalom, salam, namaste, and blessed be.
And
Now our service truly begins.
Oh, okay. Please stay for the postlude.